Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to give you that fast track, the actionable knowledge from essential sources. And today, well, we're diving into something that causes a lot of stress for parents and caregivers, baby heat rash. The clinical term is miliaria. Now, you might think heat rash, okay, some red spots, turn on the fan, job done. But actually, when you dig into the research like we have, you see this rash is, well, it's more like a warning light, a pretty critical one for your baby's system. So our mission today, to give you that shortcut, we want you to be able to recognize the 3 different types, understand why babies are so prone to it, and know exactly what to do, like, right away.
Okay, let's jump in. The fundamental thing to get right off the bat is that this isn't really an infection starting out. It's more like a plumbing issue in the skin. Basically, sweat gets trapped because the sweat ducts are blocked. Simple as that.
Block your plumbing, okay.
Yeah, and it's super common in infants. Their skin is just so sensitive. And crucially, their sweat glands are still developing. They haven't quite figured out how to vent properly yet.
Right. So if the why is blocked plumbing, an internal thing, what did that look like on the outside? And why is this specific rash something we need to react to immediately?
Good question. It's often called prickly heat. You've probably heard that. What you'll see are clusters of tiny bumps or maybe even little blisters. They can look like pinpricks almost, or like tiny water droplets sitting on the skin.
Okay.
And here's something really important for everyone to know. On lighter skin, yeah, it looks red. Pretty obvious. But if you're looking at darker skin tones, that same rash might actually look grayish or even white. So it can be trickier to spot at first glance.
That's a key difference. And it doesn't just pop up anywhere, does it? It tends to hit specific areas.
Exactly. Think hot spots, the warm, moist areas where air doesn't circulate well and there's maybe some friction. So the neck folds are classic. The chest, the back, definitely the armpits, inside the elbows, behind the knees.
Leg folds, too.
Yep, leg folds. And of course, the diaper area, although that's a bit more complex, basically anywhere moisture gets trapped. But here's the crucial bit. The real aha moment that everyone needs to grasp. Seeing any kind of heat rash means the baby is actively overheating. Their internal temperature control is under stress.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that immediately raises the risk for more serious stuff, like heat exhaustion or worst case heat stroke. So when you see that rash, it's not wait and see, it's act now. Immediate action is needed.
That really reframes it. It's not just skin deep, it's a core temperature issue. So, okay, back to the why. Why are babies so vulnerable to this plumbing problem? Are their sweat glands just smaller versions of ours or fundamentally different?
They're fundamentally different because they're immature.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Infant sweat glands are, well, underdeveloped. They clog much more easily. The structure of the ducts isn't fully formed, making it physically harder for sweat to get out efficiently.
Even when they're not particularly hot?
Even then, yeah. They're just inherently more susceptible to blockage.
Okay, so they start with this vulnerability. Then we add environmental factors. We all think of hot, humid summer days, obviously. But what about the less obvious triggers? The things parents might do without realizing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Overlayering is a big one. Piling on too many clothes or clothes that are too tight, or using heavy blankets when maybe it's not that cold.
Traps the heat right against the skin.
Exactly. And poor airflow. Think about being held really tightly for a long time, or being in a stuffy car seat or stroller, especially if it's covered, or even being swaddled too tightly, restricting movement and trapping heat and moisture. All that makes the initial problem worse.
Right. And speaking of trapped moisture, the diaper area, we mentioned it. Does heat rash there automatically lead to diaper rash? Are they the same thing?
No, they're not the same thing, but they are definitely partners in crime, you could say.
How so?
Well, heat rash itself doesn't become diaper rash. But the conditions that cause heat rash in that area, the trapped sweat, the heat, the moisture, they create the perfect storm. It's exactly the kind of warm, moist, slightly acidic environment that lets diaper rash, often caused by yeast or fungus, take hold and thrive.
Ah, okay. So one creates the ideal conditions for the other.
Precisely.
And just quickly, this isn't only a baby issue, right? Adults can get heat rash too.
Oh, definitely. Adults usually get it under specific circumstances, though, like doing really strenuous exercise in hot weather, or, interestingly, sometimes during prolonged bed rest. Constant pressure, friction, lack of airflow against the skin for long periods.
Right. It really highlights that core mechanism.
Okay.
Blocked ducts from moisture and maybe friction.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know why the plumbing gets blocked. Now, let's get into diagnosing how bad the backup is. This is where it gets really interesting. You mentioned there are three types.
That's right, 3 distinct types of miliaria, and they're classified based on how deep the sweat duct blockage actually is.
Okay, let's break them down. Start with the mildest.
Right. The mildest, most superficial one is miliaria crystallina. Here, the blockage is right near the very top layer of the skin, and it looks, well, pretty harmless, actually. It appears as these tiny, clear, fluid-filled blisters. They almost shimmer like little beads of sweat or water droplets just sitting on the skin.
Okay. Any other symptoms? Itching? Redness?
No, that's the key thing with crystallina. No redness, no itching, no pain. It usually shows up on the head, neck, or trunk, and honestly, it often clears up really fast just with cooling.
Good to know. So what happens if the blockage is a bit deeper? That's when we get the classic prickly heat.
Exactly. If the blockage is deeper, down in the mid-epidermis, we get miliaria rubra. That's when most people recognize as prickly heat.
And what does that look like and feel like?
So here, the body's starting to react. There's inflammation. You see small, well-defined red bumps, maybe 1 to 4 millimeters across. And the name prickly heat is spot on. It causes intense itching, sometimes a stinging feeling, or that characteristic prickly sensation. This is why babies get so irritable and fussy with it.
That makes sense. And where does rubra usually show up?
Again, think friction zones. Neck, chest, armpits are very common places for rubra.
Okay. And then there's a third rarer type. You mentioned it connects back to that overheating risk.
Yes, miliaria profunda. This one is much less common, thankfully, but it's the deepest form. The blockage here is way down at the junction between the dermis and the epidermis.
And what does profunda look like? Is it obviously worse?
Actually, visually, it can be subtle. It often looks like firm, flesh-colored bumps. They're not fluid-filled, not obviously red, and they don't follow hair follicles. You might mistake it for just, like, bumpy skin texture.
So what's the danger then?
The danger isn't the look of the rash itself. It's the consequence of that deep blockage. Because the sweat ducts are blocked so far down, this type actually impairs sweating in that area. It's called anadrosis.
Anadrosis. So the body can't cool itself properly there.
Exactly, and that severely limits the body's overall ability to cool down. This is when you can actually start seeing systemic symptoms of heat exhaustion creeping in, things like dizziness or nausea, even in adults. In a baby, it's a serious red flag.
Wow. Okay, that's a critical distinction.
Yeah.
Which brings us to a really practical point for caregivers. How do you tell the difference between these heat rashes, especially rubra maybe, and something else entirely, like an allergic reaction? That needs a different approach, right?
Absolutely. And there are some good clues, usually about 5 key things to look for based on the source material we reviewed.
Okay, walk us through them.
First, location. Heat rash loves those heat-prone areas we discussed: neck, folds, chest. An allergic reaction, often more widespread, maybe appearing in random spots.
Makes sense. What's second?
Second, appearance. Heat rash is those characteristic tiny red bumps or maybe the clear blisters. Allergic reactions often look different. Think raised, itchy welts, hives, that sort of thing. Usually less uniform.
Got it. Location, appearance. Third.
Third, context or triggers. Think about when it appeared. Did it pop up after the baby was bundled up or in a hot car seat? That points to heat rash. Or did it appear after trying a new food or using a new soap? That might suggest an allergy.
Okay, context is key.
Fourth, associated symptoms. Heat rash usually just causes local discomfort, itching, prickling right where the rash is. A significant allergic reaction, though, can sometimes bring systemic symptoms, things like difficulty breathing or swelling of the face or lips, much more serious signs.
Right. And the fifth differentiator.
The fifth is often the most revealing: response to cooling. Heat rash has to get better when you cool the skin down and let it dry. It should start improving pretty quickly.
And allergies.
An allergic reaction won't care if you cool the skin. It'll likely stay the same or could even get worse regardless of the temperature change.
That's a really clear set of steps. And that response to cooling leads us right into the action plan. If you've decided, okay, this looks like heat rash, what is the absolute number one, most crucial first step?
Cool the skin. Immediately. No question. You have to stop the sweating and lower the skin temperature. So first things first, get any extra layers of clothing off. Move the baby somewhere cooler, into the shade or an air-conditioned room right away.
And beyond just moving them, what are the best ways to actively cool the skin itself?
A short, cool bath is great. About 10 minutes is usually enough. And importantly, don't use soap during this cool bath. Soap can just irritate the skin more right now.
Okay, no soap. What else?
Or, if a bath isn't practical, use a cool, damp washcloth. Just lay it gently on the affected areas for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And after the bath or compress, let the skin air dry completely. Don't rub vigorously with a towel. That friction can make it worse. Patting gently is okay if needed, but air drying is best.
And keep the room cool, right? AC or fans?
Definitely. Maintain that comfortable room temperature. You want to prevent them from starting to overheat again as soon as they're dry.
All right, cooling is step one. Now, what about putting things on the rash? Topical treatments. This seems to be where people can go wrong. What are the definite do's and the big don'ts?
Yeah, this is critical. The biggest don't is anything greasy or thick. Ointments, heavy creams, absolutely avoid them.
Even something like a hydrocortisone ointment. People might reach for that.
Right, exactly. Hydrocortisone ointment is generally a don't here because ointments are occlusive. They form a barrier. That barrier traps heat and moisture and blocks the pores even more, which is the exact opposite of what you want. It can make the heat rash worse.
Okay, no thick ointment. So what can we use safely? What are the do's?
For the itchy types, like miliary rubra, you can use a very thin layer of 1% hydrocortisone cream. Notice, cream, not ointment. Creams are lighter, less greasy, and absorb better.
How often?
Maybe up to 3 times a day, just on the itchy spots. Or another classic remedy is calamine lotion. Just dab a little on, it's cooling and drying. And some sources mention anhydrous lanolin products can sometimes help prevent blockages in areas prone to rash by creating a sort of breathable barrier. But for active rash, focus on the hydrocortisone cream or calamine.
Got it. Thin cream, not thick ointment.
Mm.
Or calamine.
So looking beyond immediate treatment, how do we prevent this from happening again, besides just don't overdress?
It really comes down to consistent management of their environment and skin. Keep things cool and dry as much as possible. Use air conditioning or fans when it's warm. Try to limit long periods in confined hot spaces like car seats on hot days. Maybe take breaks.
Clothing choice matters too.
Huge difference. Stick to loose-fitting clothes made from breathable fabrics like cotton. Let the air circulate around their skin. And be mindful about just slapping on creams or powders all the time, especially thick ones. Let the skin breathe. Avoid anything that could potentially clog pores unless it's really needed for another reason.
And hydration. Does that play a role? Absolutely. Keep the baby well hydrated. Offer breast milk, formula, or water frequently, especially when it's warm. Proper hydration helps the body regulate temperature overall.
Okay, let's talk a bit more about skincare and managing this. You mentioned avoiding things that clog pores. Can gentle skincare actually be part of the solution, helping keep that skin environment right?
Yes, definitely. The goal is maintaining a clean, cool, and dry environment, and the right kind of skincare can support that without causing more blockage.
Our source material actually gave some good examples of ingredients that work on this principle. For instance, for absorbing moisture without clogging.
Right, think about a talc-free baby powder. The key there is talc-free. Instead of talc, which can sometimes be problematic, they use things like kaolin clay, cornstarch, maybe arrowroot powder. These ingredients are great at absorbing surface moisture, reducing that dampness, and cutting down on friction and folds. But crucially, their particle structure is different from talc, so they're less likely to actually block the sweat ducts.
So they soak up sweat without plugging the exit.
Pretty much, yeah.
And what about soothing inflammation or preventing secondary infections without using those heavy creams?
There are options there too. One example mentioned was hypochlorous acid spray. This isn't a cream at all. It's more like a very gentle medical-grade toner. It's naturally antimicrobial, so it can help keep germs down on irritated skin, and it's known to be very soothing for inflammation. It just evaporates, leaving a clean surface without any residue to block pores.
Interesting. And what about moisturizers? If the skin is dry and irritated, but we can't use thick creams?
That's where you look for specific formulations. Things like a super balm, or maybe a calendula cream, or an eczema cream, if they are formulated correctly. The key is what's in them. You want plant-based ingredients known for soothing, like calendula, colloidal oatmeal, maybe manuka honey. And crucially, the base should be non-occlusive. Not heavy petrolatum or mineral oil, but perhaps lighter oils or emulsions that moisturize without trapping heat and sweat.
So it's about choosing ingredients that soothe and protect, but still let the skin breathe.
Exactly. Smart skincare can definitely be part of prevention and gentle management.
Okay, so we have a good handle on home care, cooling, careful topical choices, preventative strategies. But there has to be a point where home care isn't enough. When does heat rash cross the line and require a call to the doctor? What are the clear signals?
There are basically 3 main thresholds you need to watch for. First, signs of infection.
What does that look like?
If those little bumps start looking like they're filled with pus, or if you see yellowish drainage or crusting. Also, if the redness and swelling around the rash area seems to be increasing or spreading, or if you see red streaks coming from the rash.
Okay, pus, drainage, spreading redness, streaks. Got it.
That suggests a secondary bacterial infection might have set in, something called miliary pustulosa, and that needs medical assessment, maybe antibiotics.
Makes sense. What's the second threshold?
Second is duration. If you've been doing all the right things, keeping the baby cool, using appropriate cream sparingly, etc., and the rash just isn't getting any better after, say, 3 full days, or maybe even more concerning, if it seems to be getting noticeably worse within just 24 hours despite your efforts.
Time to call?
Time to call the doctor, yeah.
Yeah.
It might be something else, or just need a stronger intervention.
Okay. And the third threshold, you mentioned systemic symptoms earlier.
Yes. Third, and this is the most critical, systemic symptoms. This isn't just about the skin anymore. If the baby develops a fever, and any fever, usually defined as 100.4 degrees or 38 degrees C rectal temp, in an infant under 3 months is an automatic call to the doctor, always.
Right.
Or if the baby seems unusually lethargic, low energy, isn't feeding well, or is crying persistently and inconsolably. These are signs the baby might be seriously unwell, potentially dealing with heat exhaustion along with the rash.
That's not just heat rash anymore. That's a potential emergency.
Exactly. That requires immediate medical attention. Don't wait.
Okay. Infection signs, no improvement after 3 days or worsening in 24 hours, or any systemic symptoms like fever or lethargy. Very clear lines. So wrapping this up, this deep dive really makes it clear. Baby heat rash, mechanically, might seem simple, just block sweat ducts. But it's way more than just a surface symptom. It's that crucial warning light. It tells you the baby's internal thermostat is stressed. And cooling. Cooling is the absolute key.
Absolutely. Cooling the environment, cooling the skin, that's the core fix. And maybe final thought for you to take away. Think about even the mildest form we discussed, miliaria crystallina, those tiny clear bubbles. Even that is a direct, visible reminder of just how underdeveloped and, frankly, delicate that whole temperature regulation process is in infants. It really underscores your role. You need to constantly monitor their environment, their clothing, because in a very real sense, you, the caregiver, you are their primary cooling system. You're essential to keeping them safe and comfortable,